I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny back when it came out in theaters over the summer, and it was unsurprisingly a massive flop that I thought might have made some money or got some attention after last year's Jurassic World Dominion swept through theaters and made surprisingly a lot of money for a 150-minute movie about dinosaurs. Well, in this film, Indiana Jones is the dinosaur, and this movie's also over 150 minutes. Part of me was skeptical for thinking this movie would work. Lucasfilm famously resurrected this franchise from the grave to a middling response with 2008's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so the fact that they're reviving it again had me thinking they're either desperate for a famous IP to appeal to modern audiences, or they'd hope we'd forget about their past mistakes. Or they really had a good story idea and wanted to tell it while they could still contract the always seemingly grumpy 81-year-old Harrison Ford to do another movie. Sadly, this is more of the former, and there's very little reason for this movie to exist. I did a brief review back over the summer, but the film is now streaming on Disney+, so I figured, what the heck, why not go into one of many reasons why Indiana Jones The Dial of Destiny did not work. And to be fair, I wanted to like this movie, I'll make that clear. I was honestly kind of hyped up for this movie ever since they dropped a teaser image of Indiana Jones making his way over a rope bridge through a cave more than a year before there was any marketing material for this movie. It's also Indiana Jones. It's a famous franchise. You want to believe they can do something good with it. They have interesting cast additions too. Mads Mikkelsen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, even Thomas Kretschmann and John Rhys-Davies was returning, making me wonder how he'd fit into the story. And I'll be honest, as actors, I like all these people. I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I like Mads Mikkelsen. I really like Boyd Holbrook, who plays a villain in this movie, a small character. But as characters in the movie, I really didn't like what they did with them. They are just simply cogs for this formulaic plot to run on. And I know what you're thinking, well, aren't all characters simply cogs for the movie to exist? Not good characters, and not in a good film, though. The movie does start kind of promising, but then it runs on for 155 minutes, which is exhausting. This was a movie I really was struggling to not fall asleep during. And I saw this at a 10:20 showing in IMAX in New York City. Now, for comparison, I saw John Wick at 11 p.m., also in IMAX, and that movie I saw 4 fucking times. And that's almost 3 hours. I saw Avatar: The Way of Water as well, 4 goddamn times. And that movie is well over 3 hours. There's just something in Indiana Jones that doesn't click. It never feels like a full movie. It never feels like something really worth investing in. The ride and the adventure you go on, in one of the worst aspects, feels manufactured, manipulated. It feels forced, as if you could see the story threads being undone each time they travel to a new location. You can feel the rush of a story that doesn't really need to exist or belong in theaters and doesn't have much passion put into it. And the worst of all, you could see how Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones is just being plugged into a movie he really doesn't even need to be in. And that's the worst part. We go to these movies for adventure, for fun, for escapism, but also to see Indiana Jones. And yes, we get it. He's old. Harrison Ford has been around for 8 decades. So we'll give him excuses if he's not performing all of his own stunts, or if he isn't involved in every single action sequence. I can understand that. But what I didn't like is the fetch and chase plot. It's excruciatingly drawn out. And the characters suck, like I mentioned. Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen don't help, despite them being amazing actors. I'll get into it, but I really did think they did Mads dirty. I mean, he's almost like a cartoon. He's Nazi hunting for a relic. Well, they don't explain it more than he's just an evil Nazi. And the opening scene, too, represents the worst of what movies might be now. It's a 30-minute sequence set at the end of World War II in a castle where the Nazis have stashed away, hiding as the Allied forces come to close in on them. Only they come face to face with Indiana Jones, who's there to retrieve a precious artifact. And this idea that they de-age Harrison Ford for the scene, it kind of works, and I do kind of like what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring you back to Indiana Jones, the one you knew and loved, but there's just an issue that it's just not really Harrison Ford. There's an uncanny valley aspect to it. I like seeing young Indy take on the Nazis, but at the same time, the whole thing has a video gamey feel to it, where you're watching someone who's clearly a younger actor with Harrison Ford's face deep faked onto it, and it's just a very strange sequence. The plot, too, is nothing really complicated, and it shouldn't be. Nazis are bad, trying to steal artifacts. Indiana Jones is good. But the rest of the movie doesn't develop this. It's Indy's escaping this castle. He comes across a dial called Archimedes' dial that the Nazis want. In the ensuing scuffle, it's lost and never found again. The Nazi escapes, and Indy lives to fight another day. Then the movie cuts to the 60s, where we catch up with the current Indiana Jones. He's an old man living in the space age. And I'll be honest, this is where I expected the movie to get good. I kind of liked what they were doing at the beginning, showing old man Jones living in this apartment. He's not happy with the life he's in now. I thought there was so much they could do with that. I honestly did think that was promising. You could do a lot with the idea of Old Man Jones not familiar with this time, and there's a lot of opportunities here for something kind of like the Pixar movie Up. I guess this movie's kind of like that, just bloated and way uglier. And it's only a matter of time before Old Man Jones gets wrapped into another mystery, and then enter Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character. And I do like the idea here again. She plays Helena, who's the niece of a new character, played by Toby Jones, who's supposed to be from Indy's past, and just all of that convoluted explaining that suddenly 4 movies into this franchise that hasn't been active in 15 years, we're getting new history. This should be fine. Movies can always rewrite their backstories and take things and change them. But then Waller-Bridge's Helena shows up and steals the show. And I'm not saying she can't take the reins, but it is the problem with modern movies, where they always are on a quest and the lead character who you came to see gets replaced by a character you never even heard of. The same thing happens in Loki and Ant-Man 3. And hell, even in The Dark Knight Rises with Joseph Gordon-Levitt taking up most of the screen time. I did like that movie, though. Well, the point is, people don't really care about when they came to see something, but then that thing is replaced by another character driving the reins. It really only has to do with the fact that there isn't that narrative chemistry. I mean, Jones is an old man. Most people, myself included, will fall into a love story. It's a classic trope, and most adventure action movies do this. There's a relatability there. And the first 3 movies did this. The Last Crusade didn't even have a new woman for Indiana Jones. It just introduced a sexy Nazi. I mean, that trilogy was fucking great. But now Jones is an old man? Is the love trope really gonna work? What's he gonna do? Have his goddaughter, set him up on a date? Have her chauffeur him around? Oh wait, that actually is what does end up happening. I'm not saying you need romance to make your story work. You just need good characters with good reasons to drive them forward. This movie reads so much like, oh, we know Indiana Jones is an 81-year-old man who can't do an adventure by himself. He'll need someone else to guide him. Enter bland character. And it does suck for Phoebe Waller-Bridge because she's awesome. I mean, she does kill it. I think she's doing most of the work here. And she was putting all this energy into her role. She really is turning into this character. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a great actress. I just find it terrible that her character is so unlikable. I wouldn't blame the actor. There's also another bland character who's this little kid who they pick up halfway around the world who I don't even remember the name of, and I'm not going to bother looking it up. I'll just call him the terrible Short Round because he's like Short Round with no charisma. He's not funny, doesn't smile. They just pick up this kid to help them go find the treasure, and he's just there along for the ride. Why? I don't know. But I guess they needed to have more people for some reason on this journey. There's no distinct reason they needed him, no reason the kid brought any energy to the story, really just bogged it down, and it was just Indy, some kid, and Helena. And again, I really can't blame the actor. Maybe the kid had his lines written for him, well, definitely, and he probably wasn't told to go too much outside the box. It just, in that regard, feels so bland. And then there's Mads Mikkelsen's character, who's really only there to be racist and say overtly horrible things to a waiter in a hotel room, so that lets you know, oh yeah, this guy is a bad guy. I could get all into the time travel plot and how they try and do something vaguely bizarre because, hell, that's what Indiana Jones is. Something fantastic happens at the end of each movie. With the exception of the Temple of Doom movie, which the whole fucking movie was insane. I love that movie. But honestly, by the time they got to the time travel part, I was falling asleep. The whole movie is just trying to tell you a story about, I guess, how you can't change the past or you gotta live with your mistakes. I don't know. All I know is most of this movie is people reminding Indiana Jones how old he is. And there was another movie that came out a week before this, No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, where everyone's telling her how old she is. What is it with these downer summer movies with their unlikable protagonists? I don't know. I guess my point is this movie could have been something, but it had really bad characters, really dumb plot choices, and also characters that just come out of nowhere, and it kind of takes away from the story. Like Antonio Banderas is just introduced. He like flies them into the sea, and then he dies or something. I'm serious. Like, introduce him halfway through the film, and they kill him. Like, if you're going to do that, introduce him at the beginning, or kill a series mainstay like John Rhys Davies. I don't know. That just feels like how to do your movie, how to add some more emotional impact. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I'd be driving myself as insane as Old Man Jones in this film. It's just, at the end of the day, a really slow-moving movie with action that prolongs itself. It's boring, it's nearly 3 hours, and in many of the times, the set pieces are unmemorable. I really like there's a cool parade chase early on that has a lot of practical effects, and it looks a lot better than the other set pieces. The rest is just obviously done on green screen, and it's just buried in a long, convoluted plot. If I wasn't half asleep, maybe I'd enjoyed it, but I shouldn't blame myself for that. I blame Kathleen Kennedy. But honestly, let me know what you guys think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If you think it's just a waste of an IP, if you think it's actually a good movie, and maybe I'm just wrong, but let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching.